In this video, we'll be looking at mental subtraction strategies. We'll compare 3 different strategies and also use the number line as a visual representation to help us understand them. Our problem will be 42 minus 18, and we want to solve this mentally. Our first strategy can be thought of as a count back strategy. We'll be breaking apart the second number is known as the subtrahend, and taking it away from the first number. So it might sound like this: 42 minus 18. Well, let's make that 42 minus 10 is 32, minus 2 is 30, minus 6 is 24. So I took my 18 and I subtracted 10 and 2 and 6. I broke apart the 18 into the 10's place, and then I further broke apart the 1's place, the 8, into the 2 and 6. You can break it in any way that makes sense for the problem. So let's look at why this is reasonable. If we start at 42, right here, and we start taking away, well, when I take away 10, I land at 32. I can take away 2 and take away another 6. Altogether, I took away 18. So my difference was 24, and that's where I landed on the number line. So the point that I landed on was my answer. While our first method was counting back, our second method is counting on. We might call this an add-up method. And I think about this as cashier math. When I was a kid and people dealt more with cash as opposed to debit or credit cards, cashiers would talk like this as they made change. So this problem, 42 minus 18, we turn it around into a missing addend problem. We make this 18 plus some unknown number is going to give us 42. And our job is to figure out, what do we have to add to 18 in order to get to 42? So for me, this sounds like 18 plus 2 gives me 20, and actually on the side, I'm holding up 2 fingers to remember what I've done so far. So I'll have 18 plus 2 gives me 20. 20 plus 22 gives me 42. And then I reference my 2 fingers. My 22 plus 2 was 24 that I added on in total. This one we'll do a little differently on the number line. We'll start at 18 and we'll end at 42. So we have 2 points that we're working with, and now we're just counting up our jumps to get from 18 to 42. So for me, this was 18 plus 2 gives me 20. And then 20 plus 22 got me to 42. So altogether, I added 24. For you, it might have, something different might have made sense. Maybe you would go plus 2, plus 10, plus 10, plus 2. It doesn't really matter how you break it up. However, the more steps that you break it into, the more you have to keep track of. Remember, this is a mental method as opposed to writing it down on paper. If we were to write it down on paper, however, though, we could see that here we added 2 and added 22 to get to our answer. Our third method is compensation. I have an entire different video that talks about how to do compensation and why it makes sense. So we'll just jump right in here. Here for my compensation problem, 42 minus 18, I'm going to work on making the 18 into a friendlier number to subtract. For me, that would be 20. I had to add 2 to the 18 to get to 20, so I'll add 2 to the 42. So I'll have 44 minus 20 gives me 24. So I made this into 44 minus 20. Similar to the add-up strategy, we're going to look at both 42 and 18. We're looking at the distance between these 2 numbers, and I'm just going to take this line segment and shift it by 2. I haven't changed that length of that line segment. I haven't changed the distance, so my answer is going to be the same, but it's a little bit easier to work with 44 minus 20. So here I shifted both numbers to the right by 2, so I compensated, and I got the problem 44 minus 20. All three gave us the same answer. You can see that the number lines, however, aren't all the same. So when we look at compensation and add up, these are both based on a distance understanding of subtraction. We had both of the numbers on our number line, and we either were shifting this line segment between them, or we were adding up in parts to see the distance between them. So this is a distance perspective of subtraction, whereas this is a takeaway perspective in the pink here, our count back. We started with 42. We didn't have 18 as a point on the number line. 18 was the number of units that we jumped backwards to get to our answer right here. So different perspectives on subtraction. Let's talk through our mental work on another problem. This time we won't do the number lines. So if I wanted to count backwards, 25 minus 17, I might take 25 minus 10 is 15, minus 5 is 10, minus 2 is 8. So here I took minus 10, minus 5, minus 2. I broke apart the second number. Our second method was the add up or the count on method. We start at 17. Figure out what we need to add to get to 25. So for me, this would sound like 17 plus 3 is 20, plus 5 is 25. 3 plus 5 is 8, so 8 is my answer. I added 3 to get to 20, and then 5 to get to 25. Finally, when we want to do compensation, 25 minus 17, I might make the 17 into 20. That was adding 3. So 28 minus 20 gives me 8. Here I added 3, and I added 3 to make this 28 minus 20 to give me 8. All three are great methods to use for mental subtraction.